Kyle Busch has a new sponsor and is nearly sold out for the 2023 season, and this year's Daytona 500 field is packed. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Monday. Got a couple of big stories to touch on today. First, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of the latest from the world of stock car racing. With all the news that broke last week, I think it's safe to say the 2023 season is here. Plenty of content to come on this channel in the coming days, weeks, and months. Also tonight, Monday Night Racing, the Season 6 playoffs continue. We'll be live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Some ARCA cars, pack racing on the high banks of Daytona. Couldn't be better. Tune in tonight for some great iRacing content. I'll be a part of the broadcast. Okay, announcements aside, let's get to the news. Over the weekend, NASCAR confirmed Wiz Khalifa will perform during the halftime mid-race break of this year's Clash at the Coliseum. He joined Cypress Hill, who was already slated to do the pre-race show, as the two musical acts for this year's event. I'm gonna do my best to avoid beefing with another artist on this show. Hopefully Wiz Khalifa does not appear in my comments, although maybe I should welcome it because I actually like this move. I had to Google it to be sure, but Wiz Khalifa has had a couple of chart toppers in the past 10 or 12 years. Black and Yellow used to play at my middle school all the time because our colors were black and yellow. So like before every football game, basketball game, they would blast that song. So I've heard that one a lot. I'm not gonna say Wiz Khalifa is at his peak, but he was very relevant not all that long ago. So everyone I know has heard of him. I think both musical acts complement each other perfectly. Cypress Hill, a little more old school, but very well known in Los Angeles. And then Wiz Khalifa, more teens and 20-year-olds are probably familiar with Wiz Khalifa's hits as they're more recent. Both are hip-hop artists, which is a little different than what we're used to seeing at most NASCAR events, but that's the point of the Clash at the LA Coliseum. It's supposed to be different. It's supposed to attract fans who would never think to go to a NASCAR race, fans who didn't grow up anywhere close to Darlington, South Carolina, who may still be interested in a big event, fast cars, aggressive racing, and might give it a shot and become lifelong NASCAR fans. That's the point of the Clash at the Coliseum. It's not meant to be just another race at Martinsville Speedway. No, it's supposed to be different, and I think a combination of Cypress Hill, Wiz Khalifa accomplishes that. So I like the move. I think now the lineup is great. It's very well-rounded. I'm looking forward to being there in person once again this year. Hope to see a lot of y'all out at the track in just a few short weeks, really just a couple of weeks. I think we're less than 3 weeks away. Now, earlier this morning, Childress Racing announced an all-new sponsor that will be on Kyle Busch's number 8 car for a handful of races this coming season. Netspend, an Austin, Texas-based company, revealed this primary scheme today. Very bright, very colorful. Kyle Busch fans are used to that. Kind of a contrast to the darker Lenovo and Cheddar schemes we've seen recently. That BetMGM car that I still really like. This is different. This is more what Candyman fans are familiar with. Bright colors. I like it. Looks really cool. Great to see a new company, a new sponsor involved in NASCAR. They're based in Austin, so we know for sure they will sponsor Kyle Busch at Circuit of the Americas. Awesome to see, and I believe this is now the first Kyle Busch sponsor to be announced that's actually new to Childress Racing. All those other ones I mentioned, like Cheddar's, Alsco, Lenovo, they were all with RCR last year. They were on Tyler Reddick's car at some point or another. But Netspend, as I understand it, is brand new. This is the first new sponsor RCR has brought in for Kyle Busch specifically. See, Eric, this is proof that Joe Gibbs Racing didn't even try to find Kyle Busch's sponsor. RCR was able to put this together in just a couple of short months. I can already hear that from some Kyle Busch fans in the comments below, and I completely understand your frustration, and I know the full truth may never go public, but I would ask this. I would be really curious to see Kyle Busch's contract with Childress Racing versus what he was asking for from Joe Gibbs. I would be shocked if this RCR contract was as big, was as wealthy as Kyle Busch was hoping it would be. Remember this quote from Kyle Busch in August before he'd signed the RCR deal? He was basically admitting that he'd probably make less money this year. Busch said, quote, "You want to be able to go somewhere that you feel like you have a legit shot to race to win. Trust me, I don't feel like it's fair to me or my family or anyone else if we're going to have to spend less time together moving forward because we're gonna have to change our lifestyle. No question, there's a big change coming." So again, we don't know for sure. There might be some incentives baked in here or there, but it's likely that Kyle Busch's RCR contract is smaller than the contracts he's gotten from Joe Gibbs Racing. So that's something to consider. If you're going to be mad at the way Joe Gibbs Racing treated Kyle Busch, I think you gotta look at the bigger picture. Maybe it's because I saw them do the exact same thing to Matt Kenseth just a few years ago. I've become hardened or numb to the way Joe Gibbs Racing does business. JGR tried to find a mammoth sponsor to replace M&M's, and they almost did when they found Oracle, but then that deal fell through. When that fell apart and months of work went down the drain, Gibbs was left with two choices. Do we try to hunt down some smaller sponsors, 3 races here, 4 races there, try to piece together a full schedule and pay Kyle Busch close to what he's asking? Or do we go with the much cheaper, younger driver who has existing support from Monster Energy and has proven he's ready for the big leagues? Those are the two choices. And this is just me being honest, but if you consider that Kyle Busch, much older driver, had only won 4 races the past 3 years, I'm sure in the back of their mind, Gibbs was wondering, is this a declining driver? That might have made their decision a bit easier. It's a ruthless way of doing business, and other drivers see that. I think that's part of why Toyota was upset that they weren't able to retain Kyle Busch. Toyotas are usually great, but if the team is seen to be unsteady or possibly even a little toxic, that could drive future free agents away from Joe Gibbs Racing. Plus the fans see all this, and that's not a great PR look for Toyota to lose the greatest driver in their manufacturer's history. So it's complicated, but even though Kyle Busch, according to Adam Stern at least, is now nearly sold out of sponsorship slots for this coming season, I still don't believe that means JGR didn't try. They tried up to a point. I think when that Oracle deal fell through and like I said, months of work went kind of down the drain, I think that's when things reached a turning point and they had to make a very difficult, ruthless business decision. Don't hate the player, hate the game. I guess that's what this really comes down to. The current business model for owning a NASCAR Cup Series team is so sponsor dependent that when you lose a $20 million sponsor like M&M's, it is very hard to retain even one of the top drivers in the sport. So Kyle Busch fans can continue to be upset with how Joe Gibbs Racing treated Kyle Busch, and maybe there's some truth in there somewhere, but personally, I think comparing JGR to RCR is like comparing apples to oranges. That's just my opinion. One last topic I do want to cover in this episode. Last week was full of big news. A couple of the biggest announcements were Jimmy Johnson driving the number 84 Carvana Chevrolet. We already knew he was going to attempt the Daytona 500, but now we know the paint scheme, the car number. Also, Travis Pastrana out of left field, tapped by 2311 Racing to drive a third entry to attempt to qualify for the Daytona 500, completely out of nowhere. 2 big splashy names headlining the duels on Thursday, February 16th. Save that date, Thursday night, February 16th. The duels at Daytona are going to be consequential, very entertaining, very important. Because over the past few days, I've been looking at all the confirmed entries into this year's Daytona 500, as well as some of the rumored or potential entries, and we could be looking at one of the more full Daytona 500 fields in recent history. Obviously, the field for the actual race is capped at 40, but we may have, by my count, 44, 45, maybe more entries, which means a good handful of drivers and teams may end up going home before the big show. And you look at some of the big names who are at this point basically confirmed. Obviously Jimmy Johnson, we know he's going to enter the race and attempt to qualify. Travis Pastrana, another big name. Front Row Motorsports has said that defending Truck Series champion Zane Smith will attempt the 500. We don't know in what car for who that will be just yet, but they said that's happening. And I forgot about this until a bunch of y'all on Twitter reminded me, but Austin Hill has already been confirmed as the driver of the 62 for Beard Motorsports. He's going to attempt the Daytona 500. It would be his second Cup Series start. Assuming all 4 of those happen, and I don't have any reason to believe they won't, that's 40. 36 chartered cars plus those 4 open cars, that's a full field right there. So anyone else who throws their hat into the ring, who jumps onto the entry list, we're going to start talking about eliminations. We're going to start talking about people going home. There are no guaranteed spots left. One potential team that's been quiet recently is Trackhouse and Project 91. I mentioned last week this tweet from Adam Stern in November that says both Project 91 Trackhouse and the Money Team have been rumored as possible landing places for 4-time Indy 500 champ Helio Castroneves. So there's a chance that either Trackhouse or the Money Team could sign Helio for the Daytona 500. Imagine that. You got Johnson, Pastrana, and potentially Castroneves all racing in the duels trying to make the show. Team Heseberg was in the Daytona 500 last year. Haven't heard much from them. There's also MBM. Could Timmy Hill make another run at it? You never know. One last team I want to mention is Colleague. Colleague, there have been some interesting rumors going back a couple of months now. Brett Griffin, spotter over at Colleague, has said that he'll be doing something at Daytona, but has been very quiet about what that will be. Colleague a week or so ago posted this teaser image on social media of just a number 13. What could it be? Is it a fourth Xfinity entry? Could it be a third Daytona 500 entry for an unknown driver? That all remains to be seen, but there, I just listed 5, I think, very realistic teams that could still attempt the Daytona 500, that could enter the race, and if we get 44, 45 entries, February 16th, Thursday night, tune in because those duels will be can't miss, especially with these big names in precarious positions. I'm excited. This could be one of the more entertaining Daytona 500s in recent memory. All of Speed Week from qualifying on Wednesday. You can always qualify it on speed if you're first or second fastest on Wednesday, and I'd give especially Jimmy Johnson in a Chevy car a real good shot at being fast in single car runs. Remember back in the day at Daytona and Talladega when he and Chad Knaus would just insist on only doing single car runs during practice? They would never practice drafting. I always thought that was kind of a fun little just driver crew chief decision, just a fun talking point every week, gave the media something to ask them about. I expect Jimmy to be fast in single car speeds, but if he doesn't qualify his way in on Wednesday, tune in Thursday, February 16th. I'm just gonna keep saying that date because it's not Saturday, it's not Sunday, it's a Thursday. Gotta remember, Thursday. Get home from school, get home from work, flip on either FS1 or Fox. It's probably FS1, I don't recall. Watch the duel races. I think this year the duels are going to be can't miss TV. That's gonna do it for this episode. Share your thoughts down below. We covered a wide variety of topics. I wanna know what you guys are thinking this Monday. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like. It helps me out a ton. If you're new, hit that subscribe button down below. And as always, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. I truly appreciate your support, even in the new year. You guys are the reason this show continues to grow. I greatly appreciate what you guys do. I will be back again soon. Gonna be a busy week ahead. Again tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, Monday Night Racing, iRacing Playoffs on this channel. I'll be a part of the broadcast. You won't wanna miss it. I will see you guys there. Thanks for watching.